Hello, my name is Lisa Miles. This is my new book, a cosy mystery called Murder on Morrison. It's Rose McLaren's debut as a sleuth, and I'm going to read chapter 1. I had a wee launch party today, which is February the 28th, and if you weren't able to make it and hear me read, I thought I'd just share the reading with you now. So here we are, chapter 1 of Murder on Morrison. August the 27th. Rose had usually left the shop by now. It was 8 p.m. She was excited by the new autumn recipes and looked forward to hearing Trixie, her apprentice, input about the toppings and decoration in the morning. Rose saw the flashing lights pull up outside and presumed it was another incident in the pub 2 doors away. There'd been nothing but trouble there since the new owners had taken over. Everyone was complaining about it. It was bad for business and the local community. Rose switched off the light and pulled open the door. But the familiar routine was brought abruptly to a halt as Sally's body fell back through the door and her head hit the welcome mat at Rose's feet. The lifeless scrap of a body was barely dressed for the wet evening. A skimpy top and torn jeans were all that covered her. A needle was hanging out of her arm. It was instantly clear. Sally was dead. Rose stood for a moment, frozen to the spot, her hand still holding the door handle, her eyes locked on to Sally's lifeless corpse. In a flash, she was transported back to another doorway, another night from her own past. She'd come so far since then, fought her way through so much to get where she was now. Her mind pulled itself back to Sally. Poor Sally. The ambulance crew was yelling at Rose to step back. Morrison was always busy, and when she looked up, she saw a small crowd of onlookers had gathered. Some were taking pictures. Others were casually pointing and discussing what they saw, as if Sally weren't human. It was all too familiar. Rose had been there herself once, at the receiving end of the sneers, the jibes, the dehumanizing comments. Rose felt sick. The panic rose up inside, and she stumbled back into the chair next to the shop window. The room was spinning, and the time seemed to stand still. When she looked up, she was surprised to find a uniformed female officer staring down at her. She had not heard anyone come in. "You all right? What's your name?" "Rose McLaren." "Do you work here?" "No, well, yes, I own the business. This is my shop." "I see. Do you know who that was, the woman in your doorway? Do you recognise her?" Rose swallowed. The officer's questions were matter of fact, without emotion or feeling. Rose knew the woman was just doing her job. But why couldn't she do it with more compassion? "I know her, yes. I knew her. She worked here once. Her name is Sally. Do we have to do this now? I'm really shaken up." Rose knew she was being assessed, whether she had any involvement or not in what had happened. That, too, was all too familiar. "Of course, I can have someone drive you home. We can meet again tomorrow for your statement." "Thank you." Rose clung to the table for support as she got up. She looked through the window. The ambulance and the body were gone. The crowd had disappeared. She narrowed her eyes as she saw a familiar figure walking across the road. He was waving at another man. They met and fell into an embrace. It was Rob, an old friend. He had also known Sally. Rose frowned. She couldn't face breaking the news to him or to Trixie that their friend, Sally, was dead. So that's chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested in buying the book, it's available on Amazon as both an ebook and as a paperback. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.